So I would encourage everyone to take your seats. We're going to get started in the next sessions. Next up, we have Manny Marrero. Manny is a mental health occupational therapist at Cape Cod Healthcare's Centers for Behavioral Health. After 8 years in the Marine Corps and two tours of duty in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Manny moved back home from San Diego to Massachusetts. He attended Westfield State University, where he graduated cum laude with a bachelor's degree in kinesiology and sports medicine. He continued his education, earning a master's degree in occupational therapy from Bay Path University. Manny is a certified meditation teacher and often collaborates with Calmer Choice of Cape Cod to spread the benefits of mindfulness in the community. He was recently honored by Cape and Plymouth Business Magazine as one of the region's 40 under 40, highlighting local leaders in our community. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
So today, Manny will discuss the benefits of mindfulness and meditation for parents, caregivers, and children. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Clicker. Oh, there it is. I may need that. All right. Yeah, okay. Got it. Thank you. Okay. So, as we've heard a little bit about today, this is kind of the scene that we see a lot in schools and playgrounds nowadays. And what it's causing is a great deal of stress and anxiety and depression symptoms in kids. And I'd like to share this first research article that I found. And what they did was they tied when the iPhone was invented, when it became popular about 10 years ago, and the sudden increase in adolescent symptoms of depression and anxiety. And they pretty much skyrocketed around the time when iPhones became ubiquitous in our society. And in my line of work, I'm in a acute mental health outpatient program, pretty much a day program. We're starting to see a big increase in that age population, around 16 to 22-year-olds, really struggling with stress, depression, anxiety. And in talking to some of them, they really point to the pressures of social media, phones, and being distracted. So it's quite an issue. And that's what mindfulness is not. We have so many distractions nowadays that it's really taken us away from the present moment, from ourselves, from tuning into what we need and how we can self-regulate these stressors. So I'll share some good tools that you all can apply, not only for yourselves, but share with your kids, teens, or whoever will listen. Because, I mean, the research is clear. This is one of the most powerful and most helpful tools to decrease stress, especially in our ever-expanding society where it seems that we have many more challenges. So what is mindfulness? It's basically defined as just being present in this moment with non-judgment and paying attention. So removing distractions, being with yourself, and being okay with that. It means slowing down to really notice what you're doing. And if you kind of look around nowadays when people are at restaurants or they're out in nature, oftentimes what I see is people looking at what they're looking at through the phone, whether they're taking pictures or they have the phone at the ready, and not truly experiencing what's happening in that moment. So being mindful, it's truly the opposite of rushing, multitasking, and impulsivity. And we have a propensity nowadays to do as many things as possible. When it comes to multitasking, really what we're doing is alternating attention. And what that does is that can increase our stress load. So mindfulness can be an effective tool for self-regulation, ultimately. And when it comes to children, the earlier that we teach them these things, the better they will be able to cope as adults. So luckily on Cape Cod, we have a wonderful nonprofit organization called Calmer Choice, they're teaching school-age children these effective tools through mindfulness practices. So they're in over 40 different schools, and I believe they've taught about 20,000 children with excellent results so far. So these are just the basic definitions of mindfulness and how to put them into practice. And over here, it really starts with self-awareness, and it's the cycle of self-regulation comes into play, and just truly giving yourself what you need in that moment. Now, this chart can be pretty alarming, but it was just one study, and what it illustrates is the cumulative increase of anxiety, depression, and substance abuse disorders starting from the age of 4. The clicker's not working too well. Okay, let's see. Let's go back there. Here, starting from the age of 4, where you don't really see substance abuse going on with kids that age, but it's the onset of anxiety, and then it's ever increasing as they get older here. As you see, this chart goes, 9 years old, about 25% of children in the study, and it goes all the way up to 35 to almost 40% at age 18. So the young kids begin to struggle right around 5 years old, so the pressures are there. Whether or not they have the tools, that's a different story. And how does that manifest in children, right? Different behavior manifestations, emotional dysregulation. So there's different ways that we can notice that. And in that moment, just have them pause and see if they can incorporate a mindfulness technique to lower their stressors. So I'll have some simple strategies that I'll share with you to hopefully decrease the stress load for young children and teens. So these are just some of the benefits of mindfulness for school-age children. And as it says here, schools across the country are starting to adopt this because what they're finding is that it truly helps, and it's something that can be applied anywhere, and it's simple to learn. So studies have found that students are more caring, focused, and engaged in learning after a few weeks of practicing mindfulness. And just think of all of the great things that can come from that. Mindfulness practices for children and teens are used to address anxiety and stress. And again, at the Partial program where I work is one of the first things that I share with all of my clients are just simple techniques to decrease their anxiety, their stress, their negative thoughts through mindfulness. And they come back in just a day or two and share how helpful it's been when they've been practicing. So this stuff truly does work. It helps build a foundation for coping skills, emotional regulation, and self-awareness. And self-awareness is truly the birthplace of change. Without awareness, there is no change. And lastly, mindfulness has been shown to grow social emotional learning in children and teens, which can help with relationships in the future and job performance and all sorts of different things like that. So the evidence-based health benefits of mindfulness: decreased anxiety and depression symptoms. So they've done many studies. They're all available online. It can improve cognitive functioning. So what they find is our cognition is greatly impaired by elevated stress levels. I was reading an article recently, which was pretty fascinating. They did a quick little study where they presented someone with an overdue bill. And then they gave them an IQ test shortly thereafter. And what they found was their IQ dropped 2 standard deviation points. And they just kind of became overwhelmed with the stress of this overdue bill. And so stress can do a great number on our cognition when it comes to performance in school or in the workplace. It can lower blood pressure and heart rate, which great markers for heart health, decreased muscle tension, and what they're finding that a great deal of chronic pain comes from inflammation, and inflammation can be caused by muscle tension. Another interesting factoid that I came across, Harvard just put out an interesting study basically pointing out that 90% of all primary care visits are tied to stress. And that was pretty alarming evidence there. And it can improve sleep quality. Again, when my patients come to me as an occupational therapist, and one of their biggest struggles is sleep, right? Most of my patients have difficulties with sleep. And in my scope of practice, I don't look into any medications. I don't give any recommendations on that side of things. What I focus on is healthy, holistic practices that they can incorporate in their everyday life. And one of the best things they can do is an hour before bed is shut off all electronic devices, give yourself that time to unwind, and as they lay in bed and drift off to sleep, just take about 5 or 10 minutes to tune in, focus on the breath, try to reduce the muscle tension that they can identify within the body, and lo and behold, that has been very helpful for quite a few people. So again, something simple and practical. And this is one of my favorite quotes when it comes to mindfulness here, is the present moment is filled with joy and beauty. If you are attentive, you will see it. Now, Calmer Choice did a couple of recent, they collaborated with Yale and MIT and Harvard. And in this study, they found that Calmer Choice participants, which participated in mindfulness, demonstrated statistically significant reduction in anxiety over the school year, while their control group showed an increase in anxiety over the school year. Now, the control group did not practice mindfulness and was not part of the Calmer Choice curriculum. Students with greater levels of mindfulness reported being happier overall. And what about the teachers, adults, and caregivers? They too participated, and they learned some of these strategies, and they reported less stress, less anxiety, depression, and felt more compassion and empathy. And that's published through Yale University. And this is the collaboration that Calmer Choice had with MIT and Harvard. They did an 8-week study where they went up to an inner city school in the Boston district. And they had this group of students do the mindfulness curriculum for 8 weeks. And they had this group of students over here, they did computer coding, which they found very interesting and fun and engaging. And what's fascinating about this, they did fMRI studies. They scanned their brains to see what physical changes, positive physical changes, mindfulness had on the brains of these children. And what they found after the brain scans was improved ability to focus and to attend, as illustrated on the prefrontal cortex, which is that part of our brain responsible for executive functioning, awareness, and decision-making. And they found a decrease in the mind-wandering area of the brain, coupled with brain changes in related neural pathways. So it's just a lot of verbiage, meaning that the brain had positive changes when it came to attention and positive changes when it came to mind wandering, less distraction. And increased cognitive flexibility, meaning you present a child with a task and you present them with another task and challenge them over here and challenge them over there. They're able to be flexible with those challenges and they have less propensity to get stressed when it comes to different types of challenges. Reduced amygdala reactivity to fears and stress. Now the amygdala is that fear center of the brain, so it showed a less reactivity when it came to stressors presented during the MRI scans. So none of these changes, these positive changes, were found in the control group. They also did brain scans with the control group, those kids who practiced the computer coding, which they found very engaging. So I thought that was pretty remarkable when it came to the evidence behind this. And here we have the brain scan pictures before the mindfulness 8-week program and then after. And this is in your tote bag. There are better pictures. There's a handout on this. So what we see in this picture, the purple areas, is a change in areas that are used in self-control, behavior relative to areas that are engaged in automatic reactions, daydream, rumination, or worry. So you can see the purple, more purple meant better. Areas of self-control, etc. And here, before common choice, you see less purple. There was more reactivity and mind wandering. So what I do is I like to frame the evidence first, and then I present you the simple everyday application and different types of strategies that you can apply. So truly, it just starts with a few minutes a day. When I personally started practicing mindfulness, I didn't know much about it. And so a meditation teacher told me, just do 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes in the morning, just start there. And I said, okay, we'll see where this goes. And I did it, and I just started to see different things happening. I just started to be more aware of my stress levels throughout the day, and I was able to just kind of pause and take deep breaths and self-regulate more. It truly engaged my awareness just from the 5 minutes in the morning that I started to practice. So what I like to say is just start when you first wake up. Nowadays, what is the first thing we like to do when we first wake up, other than going to the bathroom? Turn on the news, check the email, right? Pick up the phone. And what they say is this starts to engage a reactive pattern in the brain that can increase stressors throughout the day. So already you're reacting to whatever's on the phone, to an email, to news on whatever channel you're watching, and then that's causing many stressors if it's negative, if it has some personal response within you, and that sets up reactivity patterns. So really treating when you first wake up as a time to just be, take a deep breath, move a little slower, and that can decrease those reactivity patterns. So first thing in the morning and before bed, it can increase sleep quality and help with getting to sleep as well. So these are simple strategies that can increase your overall mindful awareness throughout the day. And it can lead to better food choices, as we learned. It can lead to less overall stress and anxiety as you move along. So these are some additional strategies as adults that you can start to apply. And this little acronym SNACK is a great way to remember it. So kind of having a mindful snack. So taking time to just stop. Just stop whatever you're doing throughout the day and give yourself that time to Tune in. What do I need? Notice what's happening around you. Accepting whatever arises, because when we accept, we do not get stuck. When we get into a struggle with whatever it is that we're dealing with, that's when our stressors actually increase. So acceptance is the birthplace of change, and it's also an area where we can start to give ourselves what we need. Curious, ground yourself with questions about your experience in the environment. What am I feeling? What do I need right now? Again, tune in. Maybe you're hungry, or maybe you just need time to take 5 minutes. And lastly, kindness. Just having an overall kindness towards the self. Even if you're struggling, going through a tough time, just know that you will be okay, and being kind is the best way to go about that. This is an excellent tool for children. So the 5-finger starfish. So you basically, and let's all try this. Let's hold our hand up just like so. And you begin at the base of the thumb. And what you do is, at the base, you inhale as you trace your finger up deeply through the nose, and then as you trace down, exhale. So as you go up, you inhale, and then as you come down, you exhale. And with that little strategy, a child who is in the middle of a tantrum or they're having a difficult time, that can be the difference maker in that self-regulation strategy that we like to teach them. So the 5-finger starfish, trace up, inhale. As you come down, exhale. And that alone can truly reduce anyone's stress within just a few minutes. Some additional strategies for adults. Just the 3 breaths, that's all it takes sometimes. You inhale deeply, expanding the belly. Exhale, belly contracts. On the second breath, you do a quick body scan to see if you can decrease any areas of tension. Again, as the body relaxes, the mind follows. There's a mind-body connection. Is your jaw clenched? Is your lower back tight? And then in the third breath, ask yourself, what is important in this very moment? What do I need? Turns out that can give us a great deal of answers if we just take a moment. And then lastly, there are many resources in our community. Luckily, we live in an area of the world that's very progressive. And we have resources for kids. We have resources for teens and adults. So the first one, I already shared Calmer Choice. They're in schools. They're starting to be insert themselves more in the community. They have a parent and children group coming along that they're implementing. They also will be providing mindfulness for adults in the community. So just stay tuned. They will be providing these practices through the community centers around the Cape, and there will be some press releases coming about soon. Local community centers and senior centers offer these practices either through yoga, tai chi, or meditation itself. We have Nicole and I do a mindfulness meditation group the first Thursday of every month, and the information is there. And lastly, online, YouTube has many resources, both kid-friendly and adult-friendly. Insight Timer is a great application for the phone where you can start to utilize this technology for good, because we kind of already know all the negative evidence behind the technology. So these are just some of the resources that can be applied to this practice. Now, with that being said, we shall practice ourselves here. I will lead you through just a few minutes of a mindfulness practice that I do with a lot of my clients, just so we can all benefit from this powerful tool. So let's try to put everything aside in this moment. Sit up straight with your shoulders soft, back is straight. There's nothing rigid, everything is soft and relaxed. You may close your eyes for this practice if you'd like. And in this moment, we're just going to take one nice deep breath in through the nose, down into the belly, slowly exhaling the breath. So we're breathing in with awareness, knowing that we're breathing in, inhaling through the nose. And then as you exhale, exhale with awareness, knowing that you're breathing out. And just take a few moments to scan your body. Bringing awareness to any areas where you may notice tension, stiffness. And if you do, see if you can soften those areas by sending a nice, deep, relaxing breath to that area, slowly exhaling any tension that you may find. And just start to notice your body as it makes contact with the chair, your feet as they make contact with the floor. Allowing your shoulders to fall heavy into your body. And just noticing how good it feels to just be. In this very moment, there's nothing to do and nowhere else to be. Bringing full awareness to the breath as you inhale and exhale. And I'm going to ring this bell. See if you can follow the sound of the bell from beginning all the way to the end. And just take a moment to take another nice deep breath into the belly. Slowly exhaling. Bringing full awareness to sounds within the room and to your body as it sits. And if you notice the mind wandering, which it may, thoughts about the future or thoughts about the past, you can label it as thinking, and then gently and non-judgmentally bring awareness back to the calming breath that anchors us to the present moment. And when you're ready, you can wiggle your fingers and toes and slowly open your eyes if they're closed. And give yourselves appreciation for practicing in a little mindfulness exercise. Now, I do have some recorded meditations on YouTube. If you check out mindfulness, just plug in my name on the search bar. I have some simple guided meditations available on there, and also the Insight Timer application. I was just approved. Apparently, they take like a month to approve meditations on there, but I have one on there as well. It's a free app for smartphones. And this is a great little illustration. Next time you're out walking with the dog or your child or the grandchild, see if you're fully present or if you're thinking about all the things that are happening or that didn't happen. And that's a good time to just tune back in, and we take examples from animals who are always in the moment.